So we got the NBA trade deadline on Thursday. So I've just been doing a little bit of a look at this, just kind of pulling up the standings here. And so my thought on this is, I mean, I thought the NBA was wide open last year. It is incredibly wide open right now.
Yeah.
With all of the injuries to all these teams, I mean, so if one team, if the right team makes the right trade, I think there's 4 or 5 teams at least that are one trade. If they make the right trade and something happens, they could be, and I was thinking this yesterday, like there's literally, we're one injury away from having like a, Chicago Bulls, Memphis Grizzlies NBA Finals. I mean, this is pretty crazy. So first thing I wanted to discuss was Brooklyn, because we don't have any idea what we're getting from them. Durant's injured now. There was all this Harden stuff, the last month or so about he's not happy there. Now it comes out.
Idea that's been floated, Simmons for Harden.
Yeah, and now it came out that Steve Nash said that they're not trading James Harden, and James Harden wants to be there. So who knows what to believe about that? But I did think this was really funny. I heard somebody bring this up earlier today. If the Brooklyn Nets, like right now, the Brooklyn Nets are the 6th seed. If they play the Toronto Raptors, right now the Toronto Raptors are 7th, so it's not likely they would actually play in a first round series. But if they play in a play-in tournament, Kyrie wouldn't be able to play, whether it's in a play-in tournament or in a series, because he can't play in the home games in Brooklyn and he can't play in Canada. So if the one thing with Brooklyn is going to do whatever they have to do to avoid having to play the Toronto Raptors. So I just thought that really cracked me up. And then you know how we love Kyrie Irving on this podcast. Kyrie Irving said, we just need to work on our championship habits.
You tell them. Yeah, that's okay. What are championship habits, Kyrie? Let me know.
The consummate professional that Kyrie Irving is, and the great leader of men that Kyrie Irving is, wow, amazing. It's unbelievable. I think the reporters who cover that team must just be like overjoyed when Kyrie is at a press conference, because they know they're going to get something. They don't even have to really ask a good question. It's just, hey, Kyrie, what do you think about whatever? It doesn't even matter. So yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of teams have a shot. I'm gonna list these teams. You stop me when you hear one you don't think has a shot at the title. I'm gonna say Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Phoenix, Golden State, Memphis. I really want to throw Dallas or Utah in there, but I don't know that I can. And so,
what's wrong with Utah?
Well, they've been really struggling lately, and Gobert's out. But yeah, I guess you can throw them in. Utah.
Ingles got hurt.
Right.
He's done.
Utah, but Dallas, if Dallas makes a trade, the Clippers just made a trade to get Norman Powell and Robert Covington. And so, and we don't know, obviously we don't know if Kawhi is going to come back. Paul George is out right now with a shoulder injury. So we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, they would need to get everybody back, but if they got into the playoffs and they had Kawhi and Paul George, they would be kind of scary. Like, that's not a team. That's not somebody I would want to play. Now, from what I've seen, there's no really big pieces, major players that are really going to probably be traded. I don't think Ben Simmons is going to happen. Philadelphia, it's really unfortunate for the team and the fans, because if they made the right trade, they really would have a shot. The way Embiid is playing like the MVP. So, I don't think so. Ben Simmons, James Harden, and Bradley Beal, I don't think any of them are going to be moved, because I think stuff could happen in the offseason with them, but I don't think anything major is going to happen. So I think any team makes the right trade. So let's see, what team should we talk about? I don't know that there's a trade for the Miami Heat to make, but if they could add a piece, I mean, honestly, it's like I'm saying these teams need to trade to add something, but if anybody on the Bucks gets hurt, and we've got the guys on the Nets are already injured or can't play certain games, so you tell me what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So all right, I'm just going to go with teams that I like. I mean, obviously I like Milwaukee because they basically have their same team.
Silla was talking about them. They haven't been playing as well as they did last year. I forget what it was like. He was talking about their plus minus when they have Drew Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis on the floor at the same time is not as good as it was. Or maybe it was points per 100 possessions. I can't remember exactly. But, yeah, they're not as good as they were last year statistically. I mean, still they could win the East. I mean, because it's not like there's anyone in the East who's like this world beating team. I mean, Brooklyn, the idea of Brooklyn on paper is better than what it's actually been on the court. Because they haven't been able to put it all together. So
yeah, and I mean, you get into a playoff series and you got to play against Philadelphia with Joel Embiid. I mean, that's a tough deal. And especially with Milwaukee, they don't have Brook Lopez, and I don't know that he's going to be back the rest of the season. They're going to have a serious issue. That's going to be a serious problem. So it may just come down to who gets healthy. So Karis LeVert got traded from Indiana to Cleveland. So Cleveland needed a wing scorer, and they got one now. So now they've got an interesting young team. I think they don't have the playoff experience probably necessary. I was reading some of these rumors. So Dennis Schroeder is being rumored, has interest from the Chicago Bulls and the Milwaukee Bucks, which would be an interesting addition to either one of those teams. I think the Bucks probably need him more, but he's on a pretty cheap contract. So I'm going to read off some of the players that could move that there's been a bunch of rumors about. You tell me who you want to talk about. So we got Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis from Indiana, John Collins and Kevin Huerter from Atlanta, Dennis Schroeder I just brought up, CJ McCollum, because Portland is now trying to kind of dumping people. So CJ McCollum is out there available. Also, their center, Yusuf Nurkic, Jalen Brunson from Dallas, Jeremy Grant from the Pistons, Eric Gordon from Houston, and Buddy Hield from Sacramento. I just wrote down the names that I thought would be interesting guys. And
those all sound interesting.
Yeah,
any of those people in the right situation could be a difference maker for any of those teams.
Yeah, I don't think Indiana's going to make a move because Miles Turner's been injured, so I don't think they're going to trade him, and I don't think anything's going to happen with Sabonis. But the C.J. McCollum piece, I find that fascinating. Like if you added him to the right team, like Dallas was the team that was really interested, that would really help them, obviously, and it would obviously really help a team like Philadelphia, if they would, trade Ben Simmons, but. The problem with the Ben Simmons thing, I think, is that in order to trade him, you're going to have to take a bad contract back. I don't think you're going to get, you're going to be able to trade him and get, something you can get rid of back.
How many years are left on his contract? Like 3 years after this year or something?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And, Bradley Beal, he can opt out after this year. But he is not, he hasn't indicated that he wants to be traded, and I don't see that happening. But I will say this: if he does want to be traded in the offseason, like the best way to do it would be for him to opt in for one more year, and then they trade him to another team who signs him to an extension. So that's something to keep your eye on in the offseason. But yeah, I think there are 8 to 10 teams that could make some serious noise in the playoffs. This is going to be quite exciting. I can't wait until after Thursday to kind of review and see who went where.
Right.
Because I mean, and there's also a handful of teams that are probably just that have basically packed it in for this year. I mean, Denver, the Clippers, the Trailblazers, they basically just said, "All right, forget it. We're not going we're not going for it this year. And Atlanta is in the 10th seed right now in the East, which after the season they had last year, that's crazy. So yeah, the rest of this NBA season is going to be mighty interesting.
Yep.
And let me just double check, make sure another move hasn't happened in the time we've been talking. And no. No, nothing so far. So I don't know. So yeah, obviously, being a Heat fan, I'm interested to see if they do anything. I don't know if they have anything to trade though. That anybody would want. They don't really have.
Yeah, I mean stuff that they want to get rid of because their whole thing is basically their ideas will be greater than the sum of our parts. Because they don't have like a superstar, like just I'm going to totally take the game over player. Butler sort of does that from time to time, but he's not a top 10 player in the league. So yeah, it's all about all the guys contributing.
Yeah, so. They don't really have. They have all their guys basically signed up to new contracts. So and I'm not sure what you're getting for a Duncan Robinson right now. I don't know that. I don't know that those are big moves on the market. The Heat just don't have. They don't have as much flexibility. And there's a few teams like that. Like the Bulls. The Bulls don't really have anything to trade right now. They used all their assets to basically get the team that they have. So they're basically set. They're basically set the way they are. Same thing with Milwaukee and Philadelphia. Obviously, unless Philadelphia pulls the trigger on a Ben Simmons deal. And so I don't know. I don't know if any of the teams that are at the top of the standings are going to make a move, but there could be some moves. It could be interesting, but it's crazy right now. Literally, there's a chance that Brooklyn and the Lakers might not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
As insane as that is, there's a chance that might happen. So
the conference is all like clustered up. I mean, it's not, the top 8 teams are over 500, but it's not, I mean, the Bucks 33-21, the Heat 34-20, the Sixers 32-21, the Cavs 32-21. It's like, yeah, I don't.
I think an injury or two is going to probably have a lot to say about what happens, because literally, like you get if anybody on Golden State gets hurt, if you get, I mean, and even Andrew Wiggins, like if any one of their main guys gets hurt, they're not the same team anymore. Like it takes away that edge. If Phoenix, let's just go down the list. Phoenix, Chris Paul's going to get hurt at some point. Just depends on when it is.
Yeah.
It just what round does it happen? Golden State, if they lose any of their main guys, they're in deep trouble. Utah, they can't have Donovan Mitchell, Conley. They can't have any of those guys get hurt. Milwaukee, if one of their main 3 guys gets hurt.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's going to be similar. I hope we don't have catastrophic injuries like we had last year. I hope that doesn't happen because that's really frustrating. But I do think that, if you're in the top 6 or 7 in the East, you're going, we could win this. So anyway, my big picture take is like, I'm really interested to see but one team could make one move, one injury could happen. This whole thing could. So, the NFL was pretty wild this playoffs. I think the NBA is going to do the same thing. So anyway, that's all I got.
All right. I guess we'll wrap it up.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
See you next week.
See ya.